Hey everybody, I am here with Chadz from Donkey Crew talking about Last Oasis that is out now in early access on Steam. Chadz, thanks for joining me. And for those who don't know what Last Oasis is, can you just give them the rundown of what they're missing out on?
So Last Oasis is a post-apocalyptic world in which you drive on huge walking machines across desert-like landscapes. And it's a survival game, so it's all about staying alive and fighting your way through this world, through those weird contraptions that we came up with, and that all those toys that we give players to play with.
The contraptions you talk about are these magnificent walkers. Like, where did the idea come from when you were creating not only the game, but the walkers itself?
So originally we thought about we want some game mechanic that keeps people moving. So we were looking at different inspirations for vehicles that are a bit outlandish, a bit interesting. And we wanted to make sure that you have this feeling of standing on a deck. We didn't want to enclose people in like capsules or passenger cabins or something like that. We want to make sure people can freely run around on their vehicle. Then we found, amongst the inspiration is the artist Theo Jansen. He makes those creative strand beast things, those walking machines, walking in the beach. And we figured that is kind of an interesting approach, and we took some inspiration from that and just pulled it further. We made those machines huge and virtual and gave them a deck space and basically created some kind of walking landscapes that you can live on.
Sounds great. Now, how do people get into the game? What's the easiest way for them to get started without getting trampled on by others later on in the game that happens? Well, I have a story for you after.
Yeah, so the game is definitely something where you need to become familiar with the rules of the game to be actually good in it. So there's a steep learning curve, and the best way to overcome that is usually, first of all, get a microphone, talk with other people. It helps a lot to just talk with people, and you often make a lot of friends who help you out. But apart from that, I think the most important thing is you need to have in your mind a kind of risk-reward calculation. You need to consider, what can I risk to bring into the map and what should I rather not take into the map. So you always need to be very careful about what you actually bring into the world.
Yeah, I went out with my mollusk walker, and unfortunately I didn't make it out with my walker. I got nailed by a stampede of another team that came in, harpooned my walker, Chadz, and absolutely destroyed it to pieces, leaving me desiccated in another location and just empty-handed.
Yes, that can happen, but you can basically work around that in multiple ways, like get better weapons, get more crew members, get friends to play with, or just try to talk and befriend them. Doesn't work always, but sometimes it works.
Sometimes. Do you recommend going out on your own then? Or if you do go out on your own, just kind of keep it small?
You can absolutely do it on your own. It's just probably the most difficult play style, and you need to think about exactly what to do. You need to see dangers from the distance before they spot you. So you need to always be looking out on the horizon, look for those wings, maybe try a smaller walk or try flatter wings. There's different approaches you can take, but it's all about information and being aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. When it comes to the walker, what's the biggest walker we can be on?
So the biggest walker is up to like 70 meters. It's this huge walking landship that has a ton of inventory space and deck space for all your crew. But we are about to bring out some new walkers that are even larger, and they should come in the next weeks.
Can we get a little inside peek at maybe some of these walkers?
Yeah, we heard from players that they didn't like that they always had to move the walkers one by one. So we came up with a new walker that can basically pack other walkers. So it's a massive kind of carrier walker, and you can pack smaller walkers into it and travel with them all together.
That's awesome. What's it called?
We are currently arguing about the name. We always have some internal arguments about what we call it. So we have a kind of leading contestant for the name, but some people are against it, so we need to first figure that out.
Right. So the game's in early access. What's the feedback you're getting right now from the community?
So the feedback is certainly mixed. Some people love it. They love the feeling of this unique feeling of traveling on these landscapes and just this whole exploration feeling. Other people say that it's too difficult or that they keep getting killed by larger groups. and that is something we're actively working on. So yeah, that's something we are perfectly aware of, and we are doing a lot of things right now that we're very excited to try in the near future. And I think we have some very good ideas how to counter that and how to make the game much more balanced for smaller groups and players.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that as to what we can expect to?
That is a tricky part, because we know if we elaborate on it, then people will be all over the ideas and will be, completely pulling them apart before we actually get a chance to test it. Okay. So we learned the hard way that there's things we talk about and there's some things we don't talk about. It's just better to roll it out and see what happens.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, within the world, you are facing a lot of PvP. Sometimes you don't, but there are other enemies or NPCs in the world. Who else are we facing?
So there is, first of all, the Rupus. They are like a primate kind of creature. With them, they're like human-sized. So with them, you can train your melee combat, you can practice your sword fighting, and they just drop decent loot, I would say. And then there's some much larger creatures. Well, there's the Killin. This is a flying creature. Then we have the Nur, which is a kind of mixture of a lion and a wolf. And then we have the Occam, which is this huge, massive crab-like creature that is just, well, most likely going to ruin your day. And we still have a few more creatures already being in production that we also want to bring out in the near future. And there are some really interesting ones in there. Can you talk about your updating schedule, what that's like, and what kind of what tasks are you faced with now that things are kind of changed too? Because of COVID now, things have obviously been a little bit different when it comes to producing a game and having your studio kind of on hand. Has that changed and affected your game at all? Well, yes, of course. I mean, the whole COVID situation fell right into our release, so it was a lot of complicated and difficult things at the same time. But it feels now we got the hang of it. We are mostly working remotely now for the safety of our people, and we got the situation now under control, I think. So we now have a weekly update schedule. And every week we try to release a feature where we think it can help the game in one way or another. Those are very different directions, but we always have some kind of, we have a kind of vision where we want the game to be, and we want to bring out a feature every week that brings the game closer to that vision. Nice. You recently had a new update too. Can you talk on that? Yeah, so we had, in the last weeks, we had quite some large ones, I think, that were received rather well, I would say. One of the biggest ones was actually the exoskeleton. So it is a big wooden mech that is powered by springs and torque, and it's a very interesting contraption. And it allows smaller groups to take on larger groups much better. And another one is the Camelops walker. It's a walker which can pump water and lava, which is great for those people who use the new explosives that we just brought in. And yeah, just recently we released a bunch of new bombs, which we're currently figuring out how the balance there is, if it's too strong or not. But it certainly looks very impressive and interesting. What are you most excited about Last Oasis? So I think it's really the ability to make a world that is so vibrant and so different from anything that we see anywhere else. So we really tried to create a new game in a very different way. And the ability to just push our own vision in such a crazy direction is really the best part about it, I would say. Nice. There are these trading stations that are out scattered throughout the world. As you gather resources, it allows you to go to these stations and change out things, upgrade things, purchase other things. What's the mechanic behind that, and what's that hold for the future of that trading post? Are we going to have more NPCs within that post, kind of people to talk to? Not NPCs per se. So we have a kind of rule where we say that every human you see in our world is an actual player, and we kind of want to stick to that. So whenever you see a human, you know that's an actual person on the keyboard, and that is something we like about it. But the whole trading part, we'll have some massive updates to that coming probably next month, and we basically completely overhaul the whole economy. So we think that economy in a game like this is crucial, and the economy we had so far was kind of working, kind of not working. It was like, okay. And we think that if we strengthen the economy with the right knobs, if we turn the right knobs up and down, then we will be able to achieve a balance where all the solo players and all the small players have an actual purpose in the world, and that is something we're going for. So we have some huge changes to the whole commerce coming next month.
That sounds very exciting. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we go?
Let's see, what else can we talk about? So yeah, I mean, we have some really big updates planned, and we think it's going to be really exciting once we release all of that together, because it might actually feel a little bit like a complete overhaul of the game. And this is something that me and the team is very excited about, and we are looking very much forward to that.
That sounds excellent. Chadz, thank you so much. Everybody, go check out Last Oasis on Steam in early access.